Hockey town, going down to hockey town, whoa, whoa. Hockey town, take me down to hockey town, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hello, hockey fans. The Minnesota Hockey Connection is on the air. And boy, it's getting to the end of the season, but there's still some hockey left. Juniors in the Stanley Cup, where, boy, can't get better hockey now when you watch the pros play. Seems like they relax all season long until the playoffs start. But, oh, fun watching those games. But the big news of the week, though, is that Coach Mike Randolph, who spent about 30 years at Duluth East and is tied for the record of most victories of any Minnesota high school boys coach, has been let go at St. Thomas Academy. And we're going to get into that real soon, right in a couple minutes. And then there's another coach that resigned, is Hibbing's coach, and I can't think of his name right now, I'm sorry. But the Hibbing coach resigned. I'm going to find out more about that story. And there's rumors going on that Ben Johnson up at Rockridge, I hope it's not true. He's a good kid, good coach, and they got the program going. They moved up to Class AA, and boy, we'll have to find out more about that. But let's get started. So last Tuesday, that would be the last day of the month, April 30th, the AD for St. Thomas Academy drove up to Duluth and had a meeting at a coffee shop down in Canal Park with Coach Mike Randolph. And he's been the coach 2 years and co-coached the third year back. And he has a very young team, and it's getting very good. They got to the finals in the section last 2 years, and half his skaters are freshmen and sophomores, so a very young team and very talented. It's going to be a very good team this year. We know who's going to coach it now, Mark Strobel, a Hill Murray, and he coached college at Wisconsin, Ohio State as an assistant. But so the AD comes up to Duluth, and all of a sudden they give talking and tells Mike that they're not going to renew their contract with him. They have a contract year to year up St. Thomas Academy. And Mike asked why. And the AD gave him 3 reasons. Number 1, he missed the awards dinner down there after the season. Number 2, he doesn't live there full time all year round to be in the community and promote and brand St. Thomas Academy. And number 3 was his style of coaching. And Mike was flabbergasted. I talked to him right after that. He called me up and said I had been let go at St. Thomas Academy, and I said, no way. And I heard rumors a month ago from another friend that had a dinner with a big shot at St. Thomas, and something came out, and I said, that can't be true. He's doing too good down there. But so here's what Mike came back. Well, first of all, on the banquet side, Duluth had 4 days of snow, and there was about 25 inches of snow out at his house in Lester Park, Lakeside. And he said, I couldn't get out. And the banquet was on a Tuesday. And that was basically the last day it really snowed, but it was snowing for 4 days up here. And he says no one could make it out. And so that's the reason there. So that's legit. And he had his assistant coach, and really they're co-coaches, Tom Klein. We call him TK. He's been around high school coaching for over 30 years himself. And so Mike gave him all the notes, and TK did the banquet and everything and the awards for all the players. So, and everything went pretty good on that. The second thing that they mentioned was that community. Okay, yes, Mike lives up here. It's a year-to-year contract down there. Housing costs a lot more. And now, if you think about it, if he got let go now, he'd have to sell the house down there, and you don't know what the market's going to be. And plus, he had an apartment, and he's down there all through the high school season. Plus, he has his camps. As soon as the high school season's done, he has his camps in all June and July with the high school kids. And then he has Bantam camps all the way through until the high school season starts again. So he's not down there for maybe a month. So he's always down there, in his apartment that he rents down there is less than 10 minutes from the arena and in the area. As you know, St. Thomas Academy, most of their players live more than 10 minutes away from the school. I'm saying 90%. They come from all over the area, Wisconsin and everything. So that's number 2. Number 3, they came up with, they didn't like his style of play. What do you mean, Mike said, he started laughing. What do you mean, my style of play? This is a joke, isn't it? I've been coaching for over 30 years. I don't really have a style, he said. I do my coaching as what I have. I see what I have. Do I have a goalie? Am I going to be stronger on D this year? Am I going to be stronger in forwards and not D? That's how I do my coaching, and I make the changes for what players I have. And then I try to train the younger ones into the style I want. That's about it. But it's always different year to year. And like he said, he had a style about 7-8 years ago, and the team was really pretty weak in the first part of the year. They only won about 3 or 4 games in the first half of the season. And he put them into this system where it was 1-1-1-2. And everyone was complaining, the parents, the players, and some of the players and parents are saying, well, my kid can't score, or they weren't scoring before. But they kept on the system, Mike kept it going, and before you know it, they got to state, and they got to the championship game. And every one of these kids respected Coach Randolph, so much after that state tournament, and a lot of the parents said they're sorry for getting upset about it, and everyone was happy down at state, and it was a great year, it turned out. And these players will live the rest of their life remembering that. And I'll tell you what, over 90% of Mike's players will come back and said, yes, he's a hard coach, but disciplined coach, but he's the best coach I've ever had. And he helped me a lot and more than life because of the discipline and everything. It made it easier in my life now because of that. So this has been going on for years because parents have tried to get him out almost every year at Duluth East. And there have been some big episodes where the school board tried to get him out too, but it never worked. So that's the basic St. Thomas Academy 3 reasons, and everyone, in my opinion, is bogus. So there's a couple, if you want to get more on this story on the St. Thomas, basically it's the St. Thomas side, you can go to the rink live, and Jess Myers is the writer. Just Google it, the rink live, Mike Randolph, and Jess Myers is the writer, and he did a story about 2 days after Mike knew he's not coming back. And then the other one is the Star Tribune, Dave LeBlanc. Go to the Star Tribune, Mike Randolph, if you can pick up the stories. I don't know if you're on the digital or anything, but if you are, that's a good one. They'll give a whole story. But a friend of mine that runs the Minnesota MN Hockey.TV, the streaming for a lot of high school games and other hockey. Pete Wagner did a podcast with Mike Randolph last Saturday, and his coach, assistant coach Tom Klein, TK, and the podcast was 1 hour, 18 minutes, and 52 seconds. So this is great because it gets a lot more into it on the other side, what really happened and what Mike doesn't and TK don't put down any person, but they did say parents had a lot to do with this. And the funny thing about it, I told Mike, I talked to him 4 or 5 times after this happened from last Tuesday, and I told him they already have a coach set up, Mike. He's already in. So this is crazy. Those 3 excuses is not excuses. That's just their way of getting around it. And sure enough, Mark Strobel is the new coach down there, but he was in way before Mike was told that they're not renewing his contract. But going through this podcast, you can go to Overtime. It's called the Overtime Podcast, and just put Mike Randolph. Overtime Podcast, Mike Randolph. I'm going to put this up on, Pete's going to send me a link, so I'm going to put it up on my Facebook, so you can go to Jerry Borough, Jerry, Borough, B as in boy, OROUGH on Facebook, or Minnesota Hockey Connection. You can shorten it out like MN for Minnesota, MN Hockey Connection. And Twitter, if you're on Twitter, MN Hockey Connection on Twitter, and I'll get that out there. And if you're big in hockey and I basically communicate with you, I'll probably send a few of you a link to your emails to it. So I'll get that this afternoon. So those are 3 different ways you can get some of the story. But the podcast, if you have the time for 80 minutes of a podcast, it's great. But you can listen to a little bit and go back to it all the time. So that's a great podcast by Pete Wagner. And one thing in that podcast too, Mike and TK are looking at any job that comes up too, and they want to coach together still, and they work very good as a team. TK has been a goalie coach at Benil for many years, and he's very good at the goalie and defense, and so it's a great pair what they do together, and they had a great time at St. Thomas Academy. They have no regrets. So hopefully they can get back in this year, but if not, for sure, they'll find a place next year. So the podcast is just Google Overtime Podcast Mike Randolph. And Randolph spelled Randolph. And like I said, go on my Facebook page, and I'll have that up there. Minnesota Hockey Connection, or Jerry Borough, or Twitter, Minnesota Hockey Connection. So I was going to have a guest this last 2 weeks, trying to get him, but I guess he's going through some problems up at Rockridge. Ben Johnson, he was a Duluth East player back in his days, and he's been coaching Rockridge since they opened up. Great coach, great guy, and now I'm hearing rumors that there might be problems up there with parents, so I'll have to wait and see on that one too. So it's kind of sad how parents have control of this game in all sports, and somehow there's got to be meetings how to stop this, or even keep parents from coming to the games if they're going to keep on doing this, because some great coaches have left the game because of parents, and And it's getting harder and harder to find coaches because who wants to go through the anxiety and everything of coaching kids when the parents come to you and you do nothing wrong. You didn't put my kid in the right spot. So it's just getting so ridiculous now. And I hope somehow, somewhere, people can start communicating how to deal with the parents, because it's the biggest problem in sports nowadays from youth through high school. So, well, good luck on that one. Okay, I was just, like I was saying when I started the show, the National Hockey League Stanley Cup. We started out with 16 teams, the East and the West had 8 each. Now we're down to 4 each, so we're in the top 4 teams in each Eastern Conference and Western Conference. And there's only been 1 game in the semis in the conference, and that was New York Rangers and Carolina. And New York Rangers won the first game. These are all best of 7 games, but boy, there were some great games. And if you saw the Boston-Toronto 7th game, overtime, and the goal by Pasternak, it was a beauty, man. And when the defenseman threw that puck into the end and it ricocheted back in front of the goalie, and he was racing in, and he got ahead of the D, and he backhanded it into the net. Game over, series over, on to the next series. And then Dallas last night beat Vegas, the last year's Stanley Cup champions, in the 7th game. And Minnesota kid was hot in the nets, Jake Ottinger. He played for Lakeville North. And they won the 7th game there, and it was a really good game to watch too. And now Dallas will be playing Colorado. And then the other 2 series, the 2 Canadian teams, Vancouver and Edmonton, will be playing each other. Vancouver, I think, was the 5th game. They were behind 3-1 to 3-0. And then Brock Besser, the Burnsville boy up in Vancouver, he scored 3 goals in a row, and he scored one with under 10 seconds to make the game go into overtime. He had a great game and a great series, and now they're going to be playing the big guns, Conor McGregor and Dre Salty, and who's the other guy, Hyman? Great forwards on Edmonton, so that's going to be, these are all great series. And then Boston will be playing Florida. So 4 great series, and some will be on ABC now, some will be on ESPN, some will be on TNT, and some will be on TBS, the 4 channels that will be putting these games on. So if you have cable, you can get all 4 of them then. And this weekend, I'm probably going to go up to Fargo, and they're having the Clark Cup final. That's the final of the USHL, the only Tier 1 league in hockey in the United States. And a lot of Minnesota kids, before they go to play D1 college, play in this league. And especially Fargo has Zam Plant, who's coming to UMD, Harper Bent's coming to UMD, Lou Gruba is going to the Gophers. There's a few others in that, but there's a lot of Minnesota kids on the Fargo team, and it'll be fun watching. So I'm going to go up there and try to see the first 2 games of the Clark Cup, and that's a best of 5 game series. And it'll be 2 games up in Fargo, then they go to Dubuque the following weekend for 2, and then if they need the 5th game, they go up back to Fargo Tuesday, the 21st. So that's this is great to hockey too, USA. But then the North American Hockey League, they have the Robinson Cup. Right now they're in their little conference final series, and all winners, the 4 winners, will come to Blaine at Fogarty Rink Arena down on off Central Avenue in Blaine, and that's great hockey too, and that'll be played on May 17th, Thursday. No, Friday it'll start. Friday, Saturday, and it's a best of 3 for these 4 teams, the 2 series, and then if they have to go 3 games, then Monday's a day of rest, and Tuesday night, 2 winners of the series play each other in a 1-game championship. So that's the Robertson Cup, but that's in Blaine, Minnesota at the Fogarty Arena. So that's, if you want to see some more hockey and it's reasonable price to go to these games, I would get down to Blaine and watch some of this hockey. It's great hockey, and it's getting closer, better and better every year. And their top 2 lines are probably compete with a lot of the USHL teams. So it's getting better, and they have a lot of good goalies in this league, the North American Hockey League. And there's over 30-some teams, and there's going to be another team in Minnesota. I think it's called it's going to be in Forest Lake, the Forest Lake Millards, I think it's called. So there's going to be another team in Minnesota. They have one in Austin and one up in Cloquet, the Minnesota Wilderness. I see the Wilderness a lot, and so plus there's a good chance a team from Anchorage will be coming down. What I like about this team, they got 3 kids from the Duluth area. They got the Shea kid from Denfield. They got Cole Christian from Duluth East, and Drew Nelson, who just finished his high school career at Hermantown. He's up there right now, and he's on the team too, and he's playing pretty good on defense there. So there's 3 local kids, and I'm pretty sure they're ahead 2-0, so all they need is 1 win in the next 3 games. And we get to see some local kids on that team. So there you go, USHL, Clark Cup, and then North American Hockey League. And like I said, Stanley Cup, and then the hockey season is over, and a month off in the draft, and then high school scrimmages start. And like I said, Mike Randolph story, just start Googling it, and the Star Tribune, the Rink Live, and the podcast on the overtime. So I was looking at I go to a lot of high school games, and with scrimmages and the Upper Midwest Elite League and JV games, I probably see over 200 high school games in a year, with regular season games too. And I was looking at all the northern schools and what kind of rosters they're going to have next year. And I've been talking for about 5 years now that the level of hockey is going downhill in the Northland for a couple reasons. I think is they don't have the numbers like the big schools down in the cities. And the other thing, almost every one of these kids, there's at least 10,000 that go to these camps all year, 8 months of camps or schools, like the Breakaway Academy. The MAP has about 4,000 kids in their camps for 8 months, and these parents with equipment, they're paying 10,000 plus for these schools and long camps, 8 months of camps. So they're playing hockey all year round now. It's not the way when I grew up, but it is what it is now. I wish they would play different sports every season, but it looks like it's coming down. If you're good at, you go to one sport and you work it all year round. So, but I was looking at the rosters, and we're gonna have pretty good hockey up here this next year. I mean, get out and see a lot of these games, because like Rapids, they got they got 5 sophomores and a junior that are coming back, where they're top players last year. So, and they got a goalie. Carter Casey, who was only a sophomore last year, and he was the elite league last year, so very good team, and they'll probably be the favorite in 7AA. And let me see, I got Cloquet, who dropped down to A, might have the best first line. They got Grady Knutson, Nicholas Gentili, and Bobby Thornton. So 3 great players. I watched them last year, and they're going to have a good. That first line is going to be tough, and they got one of the better Ds in the state, in Carson Young. And so I'm going to watch Cloquet a lot next year. Duluth East is probably going to be at the low end because they lost a lot of seniors. Riot Peterson and Thomas Gunderson and Noah Tang. But they got 2 players I really like is Caden Cole. He'll be a senior and a captain next year. And let's see, who's the other guy? I don't see him here. I can't even think of him. All right. And Denfeld, they got one of the better forwards. They got John Scott. They got, let's see, Nolan Harju. They got, let's see, who else? John Scott's going to be one of the better players to watch next year up in the Northland, and it's possible he could be a Mr. Hockey candidate. And I think Carson Young has a chance too. Then we go to Hermantown. They got River Freeman. He'll be a Mr. Hockey candidate. He's one of the better forwards. They won't be as strong on D because they're Francisco. AJ Francisco's going to the development team. So, and the Hilltoppers, they were really young. So they got 9 of their top 12 players that were either most of them are all 10th graders. So there'll be a great junior class, and one of the best goalies in the state was only a freshman, Keenan Smith. So I'm looking forward to watching that team. And Proctor has the Ross brothers. They probably need a goalie because AJ Reynolds is going. He'll be going playing juniors, but he got committed to Linderwood down in Missouri for D1 college. So I'm liking a lot of these teams next year to watch. There'll be good competitive hockey between each other. I don't think they're strong enough in the AA teams to win the state, but it's going to be fun to watch and see how they develop. So next year I'm looking forward to in high school hockey up here in the Northland. So there you go. The Mike Randolph story, more to it. If you want to listen to the podcast, get on it. Overtime, Mike Randolph podcast. Overtime podcast, Mike Randolph. Just Google that and you'll get it. So thanks a lot. It been a funny week with all this news, and hey, there's still hockey going on. You can watch it on TV or get out to juniors. Have a good day, and we'll see you at the rink. Thank you, Jim, Lisa, Sean, for producing the show. See you later.